All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today. This is another one of our presentations that the International Cultural Programs Library put together in Hispanic Heritage Month. Actually, today's the last official day of Hispanic Heritage Month. And today we're very, very, very pleased and honored to have Mr. Eloy Cepero joining us today. Mr. Cepero has a fascinating history, and we're really looking forward to hearing about his books here. Just a brief bio here. Mr. Cepero was actually born in Bahia, Pinar del Rio, Cuba, in September 5th of 1945. Seems like yesterday.
2 days after the World War II ended.
That's right. He left Cuba in 1961 with his two brothers, and was sponsored by the Methodist Church as part of Operation Pedro Pan, which affected so many great Cubans. And he was raised by foster parents. He graduated from Coral Gables Senior High School in the class of 1964, and University of Miami with Bachelor's of Business Administration in Finance and History in class of 1971. And he has done postgraduate studies in finance at FIU. That was in 1976. Mr. Cepero is a historian, an investigator, and a collector of Cuban history and music. He owns one of the nation's largest private collections of LPs, CDs, videos, Cuban music, and rare books, postcards, magazines, and other publications. He continues to work with the Institute of Cuban and Cuban American Studies at the University of Miami, where he hosts monthly live interviews of great musical legends to promote and maintain Cuban and Hispanic multicultural history from a bygone era. Mr. Cepero has several different publications. Many of them we have over here. One of them is for sale that he will be doing some signings here at the end of this particular program. Tales of a Cuban family from Bahia to Iceland. And so please welcome Mr. Cepero, and we're very much looking forward to a great presentation.
Well, thank you, Tom. So thank you for Let me get a book in my hand here. Well, I'm very glad to be here. I know Ximena, I don't know how they pronounce it with an X or with a J, but and Paola also from FIU, and she met her at the University of Miami, and the reason why I accepted the invitation immediately was because I wanted to show you guys how you can go back and get your roots. And things happened in my life that reached a point that I said, I got to write this down. I was explaining to Tom how I got involved with this. Because I did those two books. The first one sold 10,000 copies by mistake. The other one sold 5,000, and this one is sold about 1,000. But the key on this was the fact that we came through I come from a very humble family. My two grandfathers, they could not write or read, but they made some money. One became a farmer, and the other one became a baker. And both of them sent their kids to the University of Havana. They all graduated from college. And before we left in the Operation Pedro Pan, my father said, all I ask from you is to graduate from college, because the only thing nobody can take away from you is your education. So it just happened that we were sponsored by the Methodist Church, because we went to the second largest school in Havana. It was called Candler College. It was founded by the brother of the inventor of Coca-Cola, Bishop Candler, and started 1899. The school, and became, to let you know how big it was, 14 blocks. That's how big. From kindergarten all the way to the University of Candler. It was huge. We got 36 buses that will pick up the kids in the morning, have them, brought them to school, had lunch in there, and then they took them back in the afternoon. So, and besides that, you had a dormitory of maybe 200 students. most of us were from the provinces outside of Havana. So, but when the things really got tough in Cuba, the Operation Pedro Pan was started by Monsignor Walsh. And right away, my mother said, I got to get the kids out of Cuba. My father said no. And you know what she did? I love women. She said, okay, if you not let me get the boys, I'm going to divorce you. So she came up with the divorce paper, and he went ahead and signed the request. And so we left through the Methodist, actually through the Catholic Church, because most of the kids who were leaving came from the Catholic Church, and there was 200 from the Methodist Church or the Protestant churches, and 100 from the Jewish synagogues, from Hayas, Hebrew, International Assistant, and so my family, immediately we got all the paperwork going, and when somebody requested, went to the first Methodist church in Coral Gables, where all the rich people were attending. That was the richest Methodist church in Miami. So the pastor, Pastor Henry, informed the congregation there was 3 kids coming from Cuba, one 11, the other one 15, and the other one 16. And he wanted 3 families to take each one of us. Well, Miss Smith, was the wife of the chairman of the board of Florida Power Light and the vice chairman of Eastern Airlines, and was the president of the Federal Reserve back in Atlanta, one of the 5 members of the Atomic Energy Commission. This guy was unbelievable. She says, she got out of the service and went and said, Greg, I want to take, there's 3 boys coming from Cuba, I want to take all 3 of them. And the guy said, Mama, you're crazy. And she said, and he said, how about if they're black? Because they were from Tennessee. And she said, I don't care if they're black or not. I don't want to separate the boys. So he said, no way. And so she started crying. And she says, when she saw her crying, I said, okay, Mama, let's go get the boys. So immediately they went to see the hangar. And the following day, the airplane came in. They took my little boy, which is 11, and my brother and myself, they sent us to Opalaca to do the debriefing with the CIA. They wanted to know a little bit of what was going on in there. So the following, after 2 days in Opalaca, we got reunited with the Smith. Now the Smith, he spent the whole day with a dictionary in English and Spanish, you know, and then this is a very wealthy family. They had a butler, they had a chauffeur, and they had a maid. So when we saw the house in Coral Gables, we said, oh my God, this is a nice house here. So, and the cook was a Filipino cook, tremendous cook. I mean, this guy could do anything. So the boys, he said, okay. When the Filipinos saw that there was 3 boys, he said, well, you're going to have to raise my salary because the 3 boys, they eat a lot, so I'm going to have to cook more. So, well, actually, they reached an agreement, and later on, we became, actually, we were right next to Jose until he died. He was the only family he ever had, it was us. So everything came out. Okay, so we got to Coral Gables High School, and this is why I began thinking I'm going to do the history of my family, because my grandparents were born, the oldest one 1881, the other 1888. So I had to write to Cuba to my cousins, send me all the information about my grandparents, where they were born, what year. So actually I started getting all, it took me about 20 years to get all the information, but then I started interviewing people that used to know my family, especially an old man who was 100 years old. I spent with him almost 2 or 3 hours, and they're telling me about my family, who they were. And I had the chance to interview my father and my aunt, which she died at 97. My father died young. She died at 72. But he had been involved in, he was a representative he ran for the House of Representatives in Cuba and then for the Senate before Batista gave the coup d'etat and take over the government. So my father graduated from the University of Havana as a lawyer and became one of the true revolutionaries. Actually helped Castro taking over Cuba because it became part of the July 26th movement. So when the revolution takes over, immediately my father, who knew, and actually if you read the book, there's in one of the chapters you can see how he meets Fidel in one of the funerals, and Fidel says, you know, the only way here is to use the weapons. The country's not going to change because we want to change it. We got to do it using the weapons. And my father said, well, this guy's a little crazy. But anyway, he was crazy enough to start the revolution and win. And immediately my father said, oh my God, I cannot stay here. Let's get the kids out. We got the kids out, wind up in the Smith. And I was telling Tom, I go to the Coral Gables High School the first day, and they put me in the track. And I used to do a little running at Candler College. It was pretty fast running. I broke the school record in tennis shoes. And immediately you should see they're changing all my classes. They want me to finish at 2 o'clock. So they changed me, my class. I started training. I became the fastest in Miami. 8 months after arriving from Cuba, I was all city. The first Hispanic ever to make all city, and you know, and I remember the other kids from Coral Gables telling me, why don't you go back to Cuba? Because but I never paid attention. I just continued walking. You know, I just go over there, beat him, and then just continue walking. So it was, but we were accepted very well. I mean, let me tell you, and when I was selected to the Hall of Fame at the Coral Gables, I said, what a help, especially from the Jewish kids. Back then, there was no blacks at Coral Gables High School, because there was actually the first black to make all city was Ted Turner from Central High, and myself, the first Hispanic. Everybody else was white, like the walls over there. So we got. Well, I ran track, and Mr. Smith was just unbelievably happy. He first day when the Herald came out with 25 newspapers, I said, "Why do you need so many newspapers? I'm going to send everyone to my friends to let you know that I train you. You're good because I trained you." And then, well, part of that, he said, "Eloy is a good basketball player," so I became part of the basketball player for Coral Gables High School. I couldn't talk to my teammates or the coach, but they had a Puerto Rican kid who would translate for me, but I was good enough that I made the first team. And all this is here in the book, and then I finished, graduated and then I got a scholarship to the University of Miami, and which at that time, it was very rough at the beginning because we were sent into the classes. I mean, immediately they put you in the class. I mean, you're 15, 16-year-old, full of good-looking women, let me tell you. And you couldn't communicate to them. So, but as we began taking notes in Spanish, we began listening and learning. And by the time we were seniors, we graduated, not with high grades, but we graduated. Then we went to the University of Miami. I got a scholarship there, and then later on became captain of the track team because we ran against Jamaica and some of the other schools. And then I was telling Tom, we graduated from the University of Miami, and I went to take my certificate to Mr. Smith. And he said, "What is this? This is worth nothing. You better get yourself your master if you want to make it in this city." So he pushed me. "But before I do that, you have to go in the service because I want to feel protected by you." So he went and signed me up in Coconut Grove. So immediately, I took my last exam in August 30. On the first, I was out to Iceland. Actually, I went for a month training, and then they sent me to Iceland. Iceland, I was the only one, and this is where education is so important. I was the only one, although I was not a citizen, I was not even a resident. Okay, I was a parolee back then. I was the only one with a college degree. And then they sent me to the kitchen. And I started 3 days in the kitchen, cleaning pots and peeling potato. And I started talking to the kids over there. I said, geez, nobody had the education that I have. So I sent a little note to the administration department. Listen, you got me here in the kitchen. I'm the only one with a college degree. So immediately they called me up over there. And I became assistant, not to the commanding officer, but to one of the chiefs in there. And immediately, I began doing my networking in there. And I told the captain one day, because he used to love the pastries in the morning and coffee. So I would come in early, would do his coffee, get his donuts. I said, he said, what would you like to do? I said, I would like to be your assistant whenever your assistant gets transferred. Boy, he gets transferred. And he says, he told the executive, I want Castro, because he called me Castro, because he said I was not good at receiving orders, so he called me Castro. And I'm telling you all this story because this is the way it is. I go over there, they get me into the main office, the administration office, and then this chief, very important chief, comes over here. Who are you? I said, Eloy, Cepero. Oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? I said, you're from Puerto Rico? I said, no, I'm Cuban. He said, well, it's the same goddamn thing. Because, and so he goes around telling everybody that they shouldn't have any foreigners in the U.S. Navy because this and that. And you know what I did? It was November. I get it himself. Oh, one day he walks into the office with his wife, the ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life. So I go ahead and I gave him the subscription for Playboy magazine for Christmas. When that guy received that's everything you see in the book, he received the subscription. He come into the office and said, where's my boy? Where's my boy? Thank you very much. This is really nice. Yeah. So immediately, he treated me. He treated me like a king, and it was very helpful because Iceland, very cold, snowing. You actually couldn't go out because it was snowing that year in particular. Now it's a little warmer, and I said, I received since I was, then I become the assistant when they transferred, become the assistant to the commanding officer. So I used to get all the letters. And then my roommate, David Oliphant, he said, what are you doing? Are you opening all the letters? I was opening top secret. I was not even arrested. So David said, I better talk to the captain, let him know that you're not arrested. So immediately the captain went berserk. He called Tampa. They flew me to Tampa. They had a judge waiting for me there. They swore me in and they flew me back on Sunday. It was not because I had my girlfriend in Tampa, so I spent 2 days with her. So I go back with actually my citizenship, my confidential clearance, and my secret clearance. I couldn't have top secret because I had not been born in the United States. But it became so important because in the middle of June, I received a letter. There's a competition for all the armed forces. And the Navy was putting together a track team. And I said, well, I used to be pretty good. If you guys let me go to Norfolk, Virginia, I'll go ahead and train it. Well, I went to Norfolk, Virginia. Not only did I win the championships, that I was able to select my next duty, Key West, Florida. Because I have my girlfriend in Tampa for a while. I can see her once in a while. So, and I'm telling you all this because this is why I brought about the book. And I went ahead and won the Navy championship. They transferred me to Lieutenant Commander Taylor. I went to the personnel department in Washington, D.C. I said, listen, I would like to be stationed in Florida. I said, if you win the races, I will put you wherever you win, but you got to win for the Navy. So I went and he sent me to Key West. It was perfect. So then I come out, I did very well. I became the number 3 assistant to the number 3 officer in the ship, a large ship. We had 1,000 men in there. And there was a lot of conflict because the black sailors and the white sailors. and here I was Hispanic. But it was so funny because I brought with me my conga drum. I played the conga drum. And at night, I would tell the black kids, hey, you guys want to play drum with me? Let's go to the fantail. So all the white guys went to bed, and I took all the blacks in the, to the fantail. We had such a great time over there. And so it was not easy because the black sailor would sit together and the white sailors would sit together because back then they were throwing some people overboard. And once they throw you overboard, you don't come out. And so it was so I tried to, be on both sides, but it was not easy, especially when we went out at sea, that you don't know what happened to you. So when I came back, I was able to do a good job. And I told the commanding officer, I'd like to be transferred 4 months early so I can continue at the University of Miami. And he let me out. He gave me the early out, and then I signed up with the University of Miami. And then I went to FIU, the University of Miami was too expensive. So then I did my postgraduate and I was telling Tom how things happened that immediately I get out, Mr. Smith, he says, you need to start working, boy. You finished now, it's time to start making some bucks. So he gets me a job at the Southeast First National Bank, the largest bank here in Miami. He said, but you're not going to start at the top. You're going to start as a trainee collecting people who did not pay. I mean, at night, I used to go collect. These people would come out with guns and knife, and geez, I was always ready to go. So anyway, but I made it real quick. I put the management trainee. I made it 5 years later, I was president of a bank. I was 35 years old. And because I had good training, the Navy gave me such a good training that you get used to be on time, be like I was here like an hour before I was supposed to, because you always. So then I started doing. I made it very fast, and then my girlfriend, who was back then my wife, said, "Why don't you start your own mortgage company?" And we started with $1,000. And when we closed in 2008, after 25 years, we were the largest Hispanic mortgage bank in the United States. We had 80 employees, so we're closing $300 million of loans a year, off to Fannie Mae loans. And then I decided, well, what I'm going to do with my life, I'm going to dedicate myself to the music. And that's what I've been doing, because I've been collecting. I got 20,000 LPs. You know how many 20,000 LPs have from 1898? All the way to the one in Cuba. And I just got an invitation from the Cuban government to go and give a conference at that. And I called the guy who wrote me. I said, you know what, the guy who's in jail in Cuba, Ross, the American guy, I don't know if you follow the news. Now he's not very happy because he doesn't have anybody to talk to in English. So I told my wife, I'm thinking about going to Cuba, give a gift. He said, you go, because they're going to put you with Ross over there to talk to him in English. But I decided it was better not to go, because things, you don't know what's going to happen. So I told them that I appreciated the invitation. But I was telling Tom, I've been going to University of Florida, FAU, 400 people. New Orleans, Tulane University. Now I'm going to Las Vegas. Then I'm going to Aruba, Curaçao to give a conference on La Salsa. And so it's been fun. And not only that, they pay you for that. So that's very exciting. But I wanted to, I gave you more or less why I did this. Number one, one of the good things, if you see this book, has 400 pictures. Every chapter has a picture of what I'm talking about, including also when we were little kids. It was very simple to do. I just sat down, and I said, I got myself a pad, a yellow pad, and I crossed it out like that. I put four sections. And I said, what I would do in my first chapter, and I put my subchapters. I would do this, and this one, and there. I have my 4 things for the chapter. And then I will go ahead and write about this. And then I went to chapter number 2. And it was very simple to do. The difficult was to get the information out of Cuba. I already had the information, and I wrote the book in about a year. I just dedicated myself to write the book and write the book and write and write. And I left it for my daughters because my two daughters, actually my three daughters now, they were born here. They knew nothing about the family. And I went back to 1881, what my father was at the University of Havana when he fought against Machado and how he became, you know, an attorney and how he did very well. And then the decision, the Cuban Revolution, how it will come out. It's a history of the family throughout the Cuban history. And actually, I haven't presented the book, Miami Book internationally, but I probably will pretty soon because people have been asking me to do that. But it's such a, I think, for anybody, especially for my daughters to, in the future, to, you know, they see the background, where they came from. And the impact that, if you can see here, I divided. I don't know if you know that Barry has all the Pedro Pan archives. You have the anthology from the family, starting in 1648 when the hometown was actually built in Cuba. Operation Pedro Pan, my life with a Smith. Then my life as a student and as a professional. And then my personal activities, I became president of the Latin Builders. I don't know if you ever heard of the Latin Builders. Very powerful organization, the largest nonprofit with $1.5 million budget in the state. I became president. I'm the founder of Chairman Emeritus of Florida Hispanic Chamber, also 1,600 members. And I'm very active in the community. We do a lot of, I also joined Alpha Lit International. We did the education throughout Latin America and actually went all to the different countries. And I was telling Tom how I told my father, my foster dad, Mr. Smith, which is a tough cook, he said, how can I repay you? He says, every time you help somebody, you will repay me. So he said, just remember that. And I did that. You know, I was telling him how I told my kids, since elementary, middle high school, I don't want any kids not to miss a field trip because they don't have any money. Just find out who's not going on the field trip, and you just tell the teacher I will pay for that. And they spend all the way to high school helping other kids, you know, because some parents don't have the money for the $20 for the field trip. And so then today, the highly successful one graduated from the University of Florida as a veterinarian. And the other one graduated from FIU, and number 2 in finance, and she's with the Department of the Treasury in Washington, D.C. And the one from Iceland just graduated from FIU, Master in Finance, and is coming. She's heading the Fulbright Scholarship in Iceland, and she's coming to the United States to live over here with us too. So it's been a very, and I was telling Tom, so many things happen in my life coming from a very humble family, be able to come up to get in this rich family. They treat us like the kids used to get jealous, you know, because the kids were very, very dry. And you know how Cubans are, right away we took them to parties and this and that, and they fell in love with us. And so they actually paid for my big brother to graduate from the University of Florida. Eloy went to the University of Hillsborough High School, and then from South Florida. And I didn't have to pay for him because I had a scholarship in track. But he was able to mold especially me. My two brothers, I don't think they were molded to, they were not very successful in the sense that they want to pay the price. Number 1 in Miami. Okay, one is became a literature the other was number 1 for about 3, I would say, making about 3 months. And the other was semi-retired. This one is not a bestseller. I just did this for my kids. But the importance of things that happen. My daughter from Iceland, which I did not expect, I was telling Tom how I got the call from my wife. She says, boy, since you were born, get your ass over here. I said, what happened? He said, I just opened a letter by mistake, and this woman, she said, she's your daughter. You better come over here. So in 30 minutes, I was in there. And when I saw the picture, I said, she's my daughter. My God, she looks just like me. So she says, what are you going to do about it? I said, if she's my daughter, I'm going to recognize it immediately. So then she started crying. I said, why are you crying? I said, because now Ana Maria's not going to be the oldest one. I said, what? Now she's number 2, and the other was number 3. This is the oldest one, you know. So no, these are women for you, you know. They little things they mean a lot to them. So I said, well, let's go. We go ahead and plan to go to Iceland. I said, well, right away. I said, well, I read the letter. I answered to her, and she says, don't give her any excuse. Just tell her that you either want her to recognize her, but don't start giving an excuse why you left Iceland. And so I wrote it, and immediately she sent me an email. She says, I cannot believe how I found you. I've been looking for you for 5 years. And what a beautiful letter. And I think that's when she said, I'm looking for my father. He served in the U.S. Navy in Keflavik, Iceland between 1969 and 1970. I'm married to an engineer by the name of Sven. I got two kids, and I'm looking to see if I have any other brothers or sisters. I said, if you know my father, please let me know so I can proceed on my search. But if you are, don't throw this letter away. You will never regret it. And I told my wife, this is my daughter. That's the same thing I wouldn't write. Exactly, I wouldn't write it like that. I said, well, if you think you should do it. And then and I wrote, hi, Sandra. My name is Eloy Cepero. I did serve in Keflavik Island between 1969 and 1970. And yes, there is a possibility that I could father a child, because my roommate and I had an apartment over there. And we had a lot of parties over there. So I had 2 crazy guys, one from California and the other one from Colorado. We were the best friends. And so yes, I'm married to a very nice lady. Her name is Alina. I have 2 beautiful daughters. They both are very much involved in music. Both are musicians. They both play the flute. And yes, if you are my daughter, you will be welcome into our family without reservation. If you're not, then we will still visit you in Iceland. Let's meet and let's have a DNA test. So go to the University of Miami, get my DNA test. And she fly to Washington, D.C., and we fly from over here with my DNA test. And my wife said, how come you holding it? I said, because we got to have a test done. I don't know if she's my daughter or not. But the minute she started coming downstairs and I saw her, my God, I said, oh my God, she's my daughter. I go ahead and threw the DNA kit in the trash can. And she came all crying and, oh my God, Dad. And she started calling me Dad. And she said, let's have lunch, Dad. And she grabbed me and we started working. Everybody crying, my 2 daughters, the sister, the other one, everybody. Sven and I are the only one with a strong face in there. So then he said, well, let's get going. And what a beautiful, from 4 people that now we 8 in one day. But it has been such a wonderful, not only that, the publisher of Miami Herald, which is a friend of mine, said, Eloy, I heard that you have a daughter who just showed up. I said, yes, it's true. He said, can we interview her? I said, well, let me talk to her. I asked Sandra, can we interview? And I guess the Miami Herald told everybody in the news, Channel 23, 51, Radio Marti. And in the morning, I'm knocking at 10 o'clock in the morning, and all the television stations in there. And my neighbor, he said, what's going on? I said, well, let me tell you, I just got a daughter that showed up, and I got the press here that wanted to meet her. And because the article came out in the Miami Herald, 2 full pages, and everybody wrote about 68 pages to the letter to the editor. What a wonderful story, and story like this don't happen anymore. We even got invited to go to 2020. And my wife says, no more interview. I don't want anybody to know about your sex life. Because we did every major TV station. Maria Bira, Fernando Hidalgo, everybody. So what happened is that I said, this is why things, and I said, God, I decided to become a banker. I graduated from FIU. 5 years later, I'm president of a bank at age 35. You know, everybody become a bank president when you're 60, 70, when you're ready to die. I made it I was young, I was 35, and then I got involved with the Latin Builders, and I wrote the books. I did bestseller books, and before you know it, I said, I got to put this in writing so everybody will know. And at least people can learn from my experience of how it is difficult to do a book, but how simple it was to structure the book with a pad and just select what my chapter would be. And I said, I got to do it chronological from the time the action in my hometown was started all the way down to the end. And finally, my last chapter was Jorge Mascanos. I don't know if you all remember the Cuban leader who died here about 10 years ago, the president of Cuban American, and I had the pleasure to go with him everywhere, South America, Spain, so my presentation here is to let you know that it's so important to know about your roots. I don't know if you probably were not born when the Roots, the television series, it was 1974, 1970. Yeah, the Olympics were going on in 1974, 76. And it was unbelievable how this black was able to find his roots all the way back to Africa. And I did it with the same purpose. I found out who my grandparents were. And right now, if you see my street, half of the street is Cuban, but the other half is Iceland. All these names, you know, Svendar, you know, all this Icelandic. So because I told Sandra to go ahead and put her family tree together with mine, so we could. So it's amazing. And one day in Iceland, when we did when we went to meet the family, that's another thing. They didn't know who I was. The family, we had a family reunion. And guess what we took for dinner? We took cassava chips, black beans, the big black bean thing, and they thought it was drugs. So they made us open the cans because they had never seen the cans of black beans. We took guava, shells, and cream cheese, and we did a pork. We did a roast pork over there in Iceland. This Icelandic ate like you cannot imagine. They didn't leave anything for anybody else, and then everybody was very friendly. Oh, you, Sandra's dad, and we had the first picture ever with all three of us, her mother, and she was so nervous. She was so nervous when she walks into, I said, Sandra, wait 2 or 3 days so she gets used to that I'm coming. So she walked into the door and I said, oh, I said, Thora, good to see you, ma'am. Thank you for raising our daughter. And she was nervous, so I give her a kiss on the side, give her another kiss, and my wife said, oye, no es para tanto. like, I said, I haven't seen her for 30 years. You know, so I hugged her. She was so nervous, and I held her, took her to her seat, and then she introduced me to the rest of the family, the whole Icelandic family, 50 people, eating Cuban food over in Reykjavik, Iceland. And it's an amazing story, and the fact that after that, even the Red Book from Chicago called, they wanted to do the story, but my wife refused for me to give any more interviews about what she said is my sex life. And so I want everybody to encourage, if this is something good to do, things happen in my life that it make me be able to do it. I had so many good experiences that happened that I had to do it. And any questions? Feel free to. Oh, right now I have a television show. It's called Great Musical Legends, and one radio talk show. I probably starting probably teaching in Miami-Dade. They wanted me to start teaching a little bit about the history of Cuban music and salsa. How it began, because I became, since 50 years ago, got over 300 books, and I became a very well-known historian of Cuban music. So. Any question that you all have?
Did your parents ever join you here in Mexico?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. We came in 62. In 1965, things became very hot in Cuba. They were executing a lot of people. And my mother, my Aunt Rotary says, if I were you, I'd try to get your parents out, because your father's going to have a problem. He doesn't stay quiet. Whenever they come in, somebody told them they're communists and this and that. So he called, Mr. Smith called the American ambassador in Mexico. He said, I need for you to get the Ceperos out of Cuba. They flew an airplane over there, a Ford plane. They got my parents out of Cuba to Mexico. Immediately when he got over here, they gave him the visa and they came in. Mr. Smith was in Russia, when they announced that my parents were finally got the visa to enter the United States. He was with a member of the Atomic Energy Commission in a meeting in Russia. He flies to Helsinki. From Helsinki, he flies to New York City. In New York City, he was vice chairman of Eastern Airlines. And he got the airplane, he got to the airport, Miami Airport, 15 minutes before my parents arrived. What a guy. I mean, this is why these people that were so special. And if you see they crying and hugging, it was unbelievable. I mean, after 2.5 years, it was very moving. You know, people taking pictures there, and then they said, "Well, we're gonna help you." They bought them a house in Tampa, and they bought them a business. And so they said, "I want to set this up better." It says, "Your kids are being very well trained." You know, because at the beginning they were very skeptical. My little brother says the first time they had dinner, he says. They had invited some Cuban friends who were president of the Cuban telephone company. And there were about 10 or 12 of them. And he said, well, what'd your parents do? And my little brother says, oh, my father is a lawyer. And he said, the other would tell, it's a lawyer, it's a lawyer. People confirming. And your mother, my mother is a school principal. Oh, school principal said they were so relieved because they didn't know for what kind of background we were coming from. But they were very happy, and you know, they did everything that was possible for us to do, including, you know, pay our education. And so every time I can help somebody, do it now. I mean, just for free, really. And it's so important because he said, I mean, even my grandfather used to say that whenever you can help somebody, God will repay you every time you help somebody. He said, have that in your brains. And I told my daughters, and everybody's the same way. They're always helping people, you know. You know, and then you reach your age. I'm 67 now, and you reach my age. Very happy guy, accomplished a lot, you know. Old City, first Hispanic ever. Old City from Coral Gables High School, Hall of Fame at Coral Gables High at University of Miami, and the Sport Hall of Fame and the Cuban Sport Hall of Fame. So, done everything you can possibly do in, you know, in businesses, in track and field, dancing, women, 3 beautiful daughters. My father used to tell me when I was 18, I used to come home late, 5 o'clock in the morning, and he says, guys like you wind up with daughters. Yeah, you're going to pay for every time you come home late. And that he was so right, wind up with 3 daughters. So, well, I'm glad, if you all have any questions, I'm glad I was able to make the presentation, at least know a little bit about the book. The book is only $10. Anybody who wants a copy is very cheap in Spanish. I was telling him I want to translate it, but everybody asks for so much money to translate a book. You know, so I'm going to get me, maybe one of these days, I'm going to get somebody that is willing to go 50-50 with me and do the English version, because the Smith, the whole family, the Smith is in there, and they all want to read it. So, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it for listening.